Welcome to the Testing Laboratory. Today we are stepping in as your elite Cambridge curriculum auditors, your chief mythbusters, and your absolute last line of defense against terrible exam advice. We are tackling one of the most critical, high-stakes assessments you are ever going to face in your academic career. I am talking about the Cambridge AS-level Afrikaans Language 8679 exam. Specifically, we are going deep into the final task, personal response to material. Now, why are we focusing all our energy on this exact task today? Well, because this specific topic appears in every single examination series. It is completely unavoidable. You cannot hide from it, and you cannot skip it. Yet despite how predictable its appearance is, the internet is absolutely flooded with viral study shortcuts, fake revision hacks, and toxic advice that will literally destroy your final grade. So in this explainer, we are going completely factual. We are going to take those popular internet study hacks and bad student revision assumptions, and we are going to stress test them live against the official Cambridge Examiner reports. I am going to show you exactly what the examiners are actually looking for to award those elusive top band marks, and we're going to replace those lies with bulletproof structural writing strategies. So let's power up the diagnostic consoles, lock in, and decode the examiner's playbook together.
Okay, let's dive into this directly by loading up some raw data from the official Cambridge Examiner reports. Read this quote very carefully with me. This is a direct, urgent transmission from the principal examiner. They state, "The classic mistake is providing generic answers not specific to the question context." Now pause and really think about the gravity of that statement. If you are sitting in the exam hall right now relying on pre-written generalized statements that you memorized the night before, your mark volatility is going through the roof. Examiners are highly trained professionals. They can instantly spot responses that look like they were mechanically memorized from a textbook rather than genuinely crafted for the specific stimulus material provided in the exam paper. They see it coming a mile away. To survive the marking grid, you must always, without a single exception, link every point you make to the given scenario. If you fail to do this, your entire paragraph structure will completely collapse under examiner stress testing. They will just stop awarding marks. It is that simple.
All right, here is our structural blueprint for today's session. First up, we're dissecting the personal response trap. Next, we'll cover core assessment principles. Then, we are going to deploy the method mark strategy, followed by mastering critical evaluation. And finally, we'll wrap up with the final examiner verdict. Let's get moving. Section 1. The personal response trap. Let's expose the most dangerous illusions in the exam hall. Look at this comparison right here. This brilliantly illustrates the exact fatal disconnect between what students think works and what actually wins marks in reality. I want to introduce you to a hypothetical student in our co-op stress testing lab today. Let's call him Tester Alex. Now, Alex is a hard worker, but he believes absolutely every viral social media revision shortcut he sees online. Over at Diagnostic Console 1, Alex is convinced that if he just memorizes a massive generic introduction template, the kind filled with incredibly complex academic jargon, he can just copy and paste it into literally any Afrikaans personal response prompt and automatically secure a top grade. So Alex gets his paper, ignores the actual context of the question, and just dumps this massive block of pre-written text onto the page. But let's look at the examiner reality on the right side of the screen. The moment the examiner sees that generic template, their pen literally stops giving marks. Why? Because the answers must link directly to the specific stimulus scenario. When Alex engages in unstructured page dumping, filling lines with irrelevant jargon without a direct, tailored analytical link to the specific command word in the prompt, he triggers an immediate marking penalty. So let's look at our myth status bar right now. For the idea that pre-written generic templates guarantee high marks, that is 100% busted. Generic details lose marks instantly. Every single sentence you write must be a direct reaction to the specific scenario sitting on the desk in front of you.
Section 2. Core Assessment Principles. It's time to understand the actual physics of the Cambridge marking machine.
The entire assessment framework for the final task targets 3 distinct cognitive domains. You can think of these as the 3 pillars holding up your entire grade: knowledge and understanding, analysis, and evaluation. Now, a very common mistake is thinking you can pass by just hanging out in the first domain. But to achieve a top band score, you cannot just exist in the knowledge and understanding phase. You must demonstrate competence across all 3 of these areas seamlessly. The official Cambridge syllabus explicitly states that top-performing students exhibit a connected, conceptual understanding that they can easily transfer to totally unfamiliar contexts. So it's really not just about what vocabulary or grammar rules you know, it's about how you analyze the brand new material placed in front of you on exam day and how effectively you evaluate its implications. If your answer just spits out facts but doesn't break down the why or evaluate the how, your structural foundation is missing 2 out of its 3 critical pillars.
So the crucial point to take away from this is that analytical depth is always prioritized over superficial breadth. Let's bring in our second student archetype to the testing lab, Tester Sam. Now, Sam is a notoriously fast writer. Sam thinks that using massive words and writing 5 entire pages of really broad, surface-level observations totally compensates for ignoring the core command word of the prompt. Sam operates heavily on the myth that if you just write more pages, you automatically get more marks. He is aiming for maximum volume. But let's run Sam's 5 pages through the examiner's grid. The academic benchmarks absolutely require logical, structured reasoning. An examiner would much rather read one perfectly structured, deeply analytical paragraph that directly addresses a specific piece of evidence from the text, rather than 3 or 4 pages of superficial, unstructured rambling. Volume does not equal marks. Precision equals marks. When Sam just dumps everything he knows onto the page without depth, the entire paragraph structure collapses. Quality, focus, and analytical depth are your ultimate metrics for success.
Section 3. The Method Marks Strategy. Let's transition from theory to execution and build a process that actually secures points.
I need you to literally burn this sequence into your memory right now. This is your bulletproof procedural framework. When you open that exam paper, you don't just start blindly writing. You run this 5-step method mark strategy. Step 1. Identify given information. You need to surgically extract the exact data and context from the Afrikaans stimulus text. Step 2. Break it into logical steps. Deconstruct the actual question being asked and select your analytical framework based on the command words. Step 3. Solve systematically. This is where you execute your analysis using clear, precise terminology. No waffling, just systematic breakdown. Step 4. Check for reasonableness. Take a breath and verify your results. Does your argument actually make logical sense based on the text provided? And finally, Step 5. Make justified recommendations. Present your final evaluations forcefully and back them up. You have to understand that marks in this exam are largely awarded for the actual process of problem solving. This deconstruct, solve, and evaluate sequence is the standardized pipeline that guarantees you hit every single assessment objective without drifting off topic.
Look at the mechanics of this pipeline. Extract data, interpret relationships, and draw evidence-based conclusions. System pause. All right, the warning lights are going off in the lab right now because before we blast away the biggest exam lie of the century and show you what actually wins marks, you need to secure your academic defense network. Subscribe to Ace the Exams right now at the handle @AceTheExams and turn on all notifications. No matter if you are tackling Cambridge IGCSE, O-Levels, AS, or A-Levels, don't let bad study advice compromise your final results. Okay, let's get back to the paragraph patch. When you extract text, you cannot just drop a quote and walk away. You must weld that data perfectly to your analysis. This is where a high-yield framework like the Peel structure comes in. Point, evidence, explain, link. You make your point, you extract the quote for evidence, you thoroughly explain and interpret its relationship to the prompt, and then you forcefully draw a linked conclusion. You execute this with clear notation and absolutely never leave the examiner guessing how your quote proves your point.
Section 4. Mastering Critical Evaluation. We are leveling up to the elite tier now to secure those top band marks.
Welcome to the Interactive Viewer Lie Detector Arena. For Assessment 1, we are doing the Data Matrix Sweep. Now, what's really interesting about this matrix is how it separates the average students from the elite candidates. I'm putting a 60-second visual countdown timer in your head right now. Imagine a highly complex Cambridge source layout in front of you. A weak candidate looks at 2 pieces of material and only scans for basic similarities. But an elite candidate? They use this exact table architecture. They map out the similarities, sure, but they aggressively hunt for the differences. And most crucially, they generate evidence and relative importance conclusions. To survive this sweep, you must actively use precise Afrikaans comparative connectives to navigate these relationships. It is never enough to just say text A says this and text B says that. That's just summarizing. You must evaluate which text presents a more compelling argument, which one is more reliable, and you have to justify that exact decision with hard evidence extracted directly from the stimulus.
Let's move to Assessment 2, Spot the Fake Shortcut. When you see a viral template telling you to just agree with the text, that is a massive shortcut that will tank your grade. True top-scoring evaluative thinking requires you to actively question the assumptions of the text. Look at this high-yield framework for evaluating evidence quality. First, identify data limitations. Ask yourself, what is the author conveniently leaving out here? Second, spot underlying assumptions. What bias or unproven idea is the author just taking for granted? Third, consider alternative interpretations.
Could this data actually mean the exact opposite of what the author claims? And finally, analyze how all of these factors affect the final conclusions. To score maximum evaluation marks, you have to play the role of an absolute detective. You are probing the text for structural weaknesses and justifying every single analytical decision you make with hard, unquestionable evidence.
Section 5. Final Examiner Verdict. It is time for the ultimate system audit. The lab's myth status bar is flashing busted for the shortcuts and confirmed for our structural strategy. Let's distill everything down to the top 3 exam fails you absolutely must avoid. Number 1, answers are too vague. Remember our friend Sam? Superficial breadth fails every time, analytical depth wins. Examiners demand specific, granular details. Number 2, forgetting to check format and presentation. Elite execution requires correct terminology and professional structure. And number 3, and I am repeating this because it is the deadliest trap in the entire playbook, providing answers that are not specific to the context given. Remember Tester Alex's generic template? Instant 0. I want you to create a memory acronym right now to ensure you audit your work before time runs out. VFC. Vague, Format, Context. Before you hand over that paper, you run the VFC post-writing quality audit. If your answer is vague, if the format is a mess, or if it ignores the specific context, you fix it immediately.
We have successfully stress-tested and completely busted the biggest online study lies today. You are walking away with verified examiner methodologies, the 3-step command word scan, the mark per minute budget rule prioritizing depth, and that critical VFC post-writing quality audit. So I am leaving you with this final, provocative question. How will you adapt your study routine today to apply the method mark strategy and permanently eliminate those toxic, generic answers from your revision? The shortcuts are officially busted. The real work starts now. If you want to continue building your academic defense network, make sure you subscribe to Ace the Exams at the handle @AceTheExams. Click that notification bell for our weekly myth-busting sessions, and drop a comment below sharing the absolutely weirdest exam hack you've seen online so we can stress test it in the lab next. Keep practicing those past papers, trust the structure, and I will see you in the next explainer.